the Mental Breakdown Podcast. It's the best podcast.
So I just realized we're called the Mental Breakdown Podcast, but I feel like we've never explained why we called it that. You know, why the Mental Breakdown Podcast? Well, I'm here to tell you all that it's a double entendre. So while we have mental breakdowns about school, we also mentally break down political concepts and current political events for you all. I feel like that was the code, right? And yeah, so with that, I think we're going to go around and introduce ourselves because you probably don't even know who we are, unless you do, from all of our reels and our lovely social media presence. Go marketing. So I think I'm going to start. My name is Ariana. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm one of your creative content directors for the PSSA. And I'm handing off my other hosts.
My name is Grace. I'm also one of the hosts, as Ariana mentioned, and I am her partner, one of the other creative content directors. You have probably seen my face on Instagram as well.
Perfect. And I am your third host. My name is Nagar, and I'm also the co-president of the Political Science Students Association. You probably recognize me from a few reels that aged not so well.
If you're curious, you should go check them out right now and leave a like.
Yeah, at ubc.pssa on Instagram and TikTok.
Shameless plug. I introduced you.
Sorry.
sorry.
We forgot.
No, I know.
We have a guest today who's going to be helping out with the podcast. Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, I can. I am not the fourth host of the Mental Breakdown Podcast. I am a guest today, but you might recognize me from the Reels or the PSSA as a whole. My name is Caden. I am the other co-president alongside Nagar for the Political Science Student Association this year. Today, our podcast specifically will be on the U.S. election and the upcoming, as of today, upcoming U.S. inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump. They chose me to be in this podcast, not because I have a PhD in American politics or even a degree in political science yet. Hopefully in May that'll come true. But because of my interest in political science.
Yeah, Caden's here to kind of help us out as we go. Not necessarily fact checking, but just also sharing his ideas or not his ideas, but
just his thoughts on
the election, as well as the thoughts that have been shared on social media, and just kind of bring them here to really give an overall idea of what has been going on social media, as well as within just political and politics in general.
Yeah, and with that being said, we just like to have a disclaimer that we are not experts, and these are merely what we think as political science students and what insight we can offer.
I follow American politics as a political science student, but definitely not as an expert, and we are all here in that vein.
I do not follow American politics, but I like to comment nonetheless.
And also in the learning process.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
This is the podcast where we break down everything politics while having a mental breakdown. The following content is for entertainment purposes only. We are not experts in the subjects discussed, and opinions expressed should not be interpreted as political commentary or as representing the views of the Political Science Students Association or the UBC Department of Political Science. Evaluate content independently and seek professional guidance where appropriate. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, this podcast is sponsored by PSSA stickers. Come find VP Marketing of the Political Science Association, Leah Ann, for your PSSA stickers. We have the lovely lock-in with the PSSA. We have the lovely regular PSSA branded logo stickers. And last but not least, you have the last one on your thing?
I don't.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have the last one?
You can also find us during Clubs Day. We will be boothing and we will be giving out stickers then. You can also come to our events and we will most likely have stickers to hand out then. So feel free to stop by and get some stickers.
Stay tuned. They're actually really great quality, I will say.
I went snowboarding a couple of days ago with the stickers stuck onto my snowboard and it stayed the entire time.
There you go.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I actually love it. So this is like obviously we're trying to, convince you guys to have some, but also, it's genuinely, they're really good qualities. Like, With Love Vancouver.
Yeah.
Amazing. With Love Vancouver. I also have, a bunch of, With Love Vancouver stickers on my water bottle, but, they're really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Promotional.
Not promotional.
Promotional.
Convincing you.
But yeah. No, yeah, I also think that's really great.
Yeah.
So, I think it'd be we all introduce ourselves and then do the whole tutorial thing where we have, a basic fun fact. So one thing you would share to a tutorial and a niche fun fact. So something that either no one else knows about you or you think is makes you a little quirky, a little different. Okay, so who wants to start?
Girls.
Not like other girls, basically. Yeah.
I think I think one of our co-presidents should start.
I think
Yeah?
we let the host start, and
Oh
then
my gosh,
you
are you sure?
The host. Okay.
Oh, pressure's on. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Nagar, and I am one of the co-presidents of the Political Science Students Association. And my little fun fact, quirky moment is that I'm not a dog person. I'm not a cat person.
No way.
I am a bird person, and I will
okay,
I will
okay.
die on this hill. I love
Yep.
birds. I have 2 pet cockatiels,
Oh.
vodka and tequila, and Daisy loves in my life.
Did you name?
Perhaps.
Very creative.
But yeah, I will pass the torch on to Chorus.
No, we're gonna do the
Yeah, I
host.
think-
the
Yeah, I
host
think we should do the host
Host first?
Yeah. Do you want to go or do you want me?
Okay. My name is Grace. I'm one of the creative content directors for the PSSA. You've probably seen my face for the past 2 years. And
we love it.
We really do. What was it? It was a fun fact. And
A fun fact and like a niche one that makes you like a little like not like other girls.
okay.
I don't know if I can say that, but
One fun fact about me is, I have 2 legal birthdays. I tell everybody this because that's like the only fun thing about me. I have 2 legal birthdays in 2 different countries. They're 1 day apart. Yeah, because I was yeah. So I have 2 different birthdays, which I celebrate both days by myself though, because like nobody else celebrates with me, which is really mean.
What?
what do you mean?
Like I celebrate my like birthday that's like legal in like my legal birthday in Canada, and then I celebrate my legal birthday in Korea by myself.
Why don't you let them know and they? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
They
feel
get
like
mad at me. They're like, "Your birthday's not that." Like, shut up.
We would never say that to you
Great.
personally.
I would never.
We would never say that to you.
Wow. Okay. And a niche fun fact. What's a niche fun fact about me?
Hey, can we ask our VP marketing what's the niche fun fact about?
Actually, maybe not. I'm gonna go on the same length of my fun fact. Is that my niche fun fact for my birthdays is that they're in 2 different months.
Oh.
So it's 2
That's
different
interesting.
days, 2 different months, 2 different times, in 2 different countries.
Double the fun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, hi everybody. My name is Ariana. I'm the other creative content director. My basic fun fact is I drink a lot of coffee. It's starting to be a problem at this point, but I think I average maybe 2 cups a day. And that for me is like, okay, health and wellness is really good.
Rookie numbers.
Rookie numbers, I
You
know.
don't tell them what kind of coffee you drink.
I drink black coffee or like love an iced Americano. I think that's like the daily. They make really good ones in Blue Chip. So yeah, that's been my morning routine. I start all my classes at 9:30 this semester, so that Blue Chip has been
Honestly, that's like
my
a
rock.
rock.
Yeah,
Yeah, so at 9:30 every day, I think
I
it's a pretty
know.
good win.
I know. Well, I finish at 12:30, which is so great. But yeah, and my niche fun fact. I don't. Well, you know what? If I get fired, it's okay. I I accidentally started a microwave fire at work a couple months ago.
What?
So we have a couple microwaves in like the break room, and I had a moment of a lapse in judgment, and I put my breakfast sandwich, which was in tinfoil, in the microwave, and then I didn't think anything of it. Like I went to grab a coffee, and then I overheard some people that were like, "Oh my god, that microwave is on fire!" And then I turned, and it was actually my sandwich. No, I feel like just the temporary lapse in judgment. The microwave was fine after. I ate the sandwich eventually, but I went back I went back to my office, and other people were talking about it. They're like, "Yeah, did you hear that someone set their thing on fire in the microwave?" And I had put my best best foot forward, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, really?" Yeah, that's so interesting. So yeah, please, I love my job, so please keep me. But yeah,
Would you like to say your name of your employer?
Email?
Hmm?
Email, name, we can write a...
This is a joke. This is a joke, Ariana. Don't do that.
yeah, forward you the HR email. I'm sure they'd love to hear.
The microwave was fine. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't heat up anymore, but there are other. It spills the food, and there are other microwaves available. So I feel like no harm.
I'm like curious. Was your sandwich a little crispier after, or?
No, I thought it's well. That was my like on the bright side kind of thing. I was like, okay, what if it tastes smoky? That's kind of
Wait,
good.
so was it your fault?
Yeah,
Like, well, how was it your fault? You left it in there?
I microwaved it. I forgot to take out the tinfoil.
Oh, it
'cause I
was
forgot about
tinfoil
that.
in it.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay.
Listen.
I didn't catch that. I was thinking about like the fire first.
Yeah, no, it's set on fire right away. But yeah, no, I was hoping that it would taste crispier. It did not.
You know.
So
Okay, well,
so there's that.
want a crispy sandwich? Or if you
I wanted one. No, that would have been like the
I was gonna
upside to
say
this.
thing, but I messed it up.
So
What kind of-
Arancia, please don't fire me.
Oh, the time at middle
it's
school
okay.
was like fully evacuated because someone did that. Like, I think it might have been Ariana now that I think about it.
Oh,
Yeah, with that, why don't we start with something I'm sure we've all paid some very close attention to in the last few months, the 2025 US election and the upcoming presidential inauguration.
I'm still in denial.
A little bit, look-y.
Jokes
I think
are
it's also
not
important that we note that Nagar is not wearing red because of the support of the outcome
Yeah.
of the 2024 presidential U.S. election. Simply because red is a very nice color.
Also, she's getting ready for something that's gonna happen tonight.
The charity club
The
night.
charity
For those
club
who not hear that, it is the day of the charity club night for the PSSA, UNICEF, and Law Club. So we are all getting all dressed up and ready to go to that.
We're all
So-
busy filming
Yeah.
a podcast and going to a club night because we just love the PSSA.
We just,
so-
yeah.
Don't you wish this would have been you? You could have been sitting here going to
Maybe
club
next
nights.
year.
But yeah,
Yeah.
point is, Nagar's clothes are not in any way associated with her
Very cool.
political affiliation.
I just like red guys. I'm sorry.
You look good in red too.
You do, yeah. The red lip also goes. So I think we.
I feel like
Oh.
you can ruin your nice dress.
I'm not wearing
This
this.
is
So
so-
like,
are you kidding?
This feels so
Are you
not.
kidding? I thought you were.
What is she doing?
No, I thought she was wearing this.
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh, are you wearing that slip up?
No.
I was gonna
So that's
say.
why I was like, but like you're gonna like ruin
Yeah.
such a nice like.
I know over the club.
Yeah. Never mind then. Like
The pearls will
No,
glow though in the
it's
dark.
fine.
For, like,
no, let me
her
just
hair.
pull up with the
Yeah,
full
yeah.
trench coat
Yeah.
thing. That's the way to go about it.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I think we should start, speaking of the US election, with what is the inauguration? So that's the day when the president-elect and the vice president are sworn in and when they take office. So it takes place at the US Capitol in DC, and this year's ceremony will be taking place on January 2025. So on Monday. And so what events take place on Inauguration Day? So there's a swearing-in ceremony for both the VP and the president-elect. The president's inaugural address, so that's their first address as president. And that usually includes their interpretation of their own inauguration, what this election meant to them, and what's next for the country after them. So I think that's really, really important place to be, given the politics currently around that. There's also a parade where the newly sworn-in president and vice president will make their way to the east front steps of the Capitol, where they will review the military troops before leading a procession of ceremonial military regiments, citizens groups, marching bands, and floats down Pennsylvania Avenue, which is where the White House is. I've actually never seen that part of the inauguration before.
Wait.
With the-
And then this
Yeah.
is when like everyone like stylish like comes out, right?
I think so. I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah. Like up the steps and things. That's the
and,
footage
and,
I
like,
see.
Isn't that like when everyone on TikTok was like, oh my god, like rating their fits and stuff, like
Yes.
inauguration fits? And,
I remember the Biden, especially the Biden
Yeah.
inauguration. I remember, I think his family showed up in a bunch of like monochromatic things where they're like all dressed in one color, and I thought that was pretty fierce. And
Weird
yeah,
segue. I'm looking at the like performance list of the inauguration.
Carrie
And the
Underwood.
with the parade.
The only like non-white male is Carrie Underwood.
Oh wow!
Did you hear that arc recently? Carrie Underwood, like in full mega,
Oh, is she No
really like
way.
promoting Trump. I know, so sad. I love before,
I love before he cheats.
and it's just
Oh my god, do you think she's gonna play before he cheats? Like January 6th? Like, are you getting what I'm getting?
I don't really listen to.
I
You know the-
slam
like,
my
the day of it
crowbar in
too,
the
so-
window, toes in the window of the Capitol.
She fixes the
Next
lyric.
time he's gonna think before he steals the election.
Yeah. There you go.
Anyway,
There we go.
Carrie Underwood.
She was pretending to be MAGA up until for that very moment that she had the
Mm.
platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yes,
But
Morana,
yeah.
you went through some very important parts of it.
Yeah. And so I guess like why it's important, I feel like, and we can all chime in on this, I feel like it's a lot of a symbolic significance as well rather than substantive, because I feel like moments like these, they're so televised that we associate a meaning to them. I feel like especially with America being known as a democracy, I think moments like these that kind of represent, I suppose, a peaceful transfer of power are really important. Why people pay attention to them. But yeah, that's my bit.
And it's kind of on January 20th, like the ceremony is very, very symbolic. Obviously, they do a lot of
Yes.
things like procedural that don't really matter, and people may be watching for one reason or the next. But after that,
Mhm.
the moments after where they get to the office and they enact all the, whether it be immediate, like from the inaugural speech, what they intend to do, or they start passing the executive orders as president. Obviously, you don't need the Congress or anything to do that. So that
Mhm.
will obviously be the importance of it besides the symbolic significance.
Yeah.
Where instead of like January 6th, which is a date that we remember for an insurrection attempt, but is actually just the date that they certify the electoral ballots from each state, and then they decide who they're going to
Mhm.
inaugurate on January 20th, is much more symbolic in nature.
Yes.
It's very much like an announcement, not just to like Americans, but also
No, for sure.
the rest of the world as well, like Canada, especially as like neighbors. Like,
Yes.
it's important for us. And then like other countries, like countries that are aligned with the US, and then also countries that are like not necessarily as like on friendly terms with the US. Like,
Yeah.
because of how like powerful the US is within global politics and how they're like just considering their history and considering just everything that like, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. The very way that we're speaking about,
yes.
like, that we, like, as Canadians were talking about this and how we were so in tune with the election as it was going. Like, I feel like that's very telling of you. Like,
I mean, yeah, we have many events on many different political issues here at the PSSA at UBC. But it was by far our biggest event was the U.S. Election Watch Party here. So there was BC election-based events. We have events of Canadian politics as well. But the U.S. election gathered in a total of the Election Watch Party, the Election Watch event was gathered in a total of like over 400,
close to
close
a lot
to
of people.
500
Yeah.
attendees watching the election on early November.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we're like always learning about like American politics, or like
We are.
the
Yeah.
US will always be involved. Like even if you're not like, even if I was like taking a course on like Asian politics, the US will always be involved just because of how big they are and just because of how
They've been,
How unproblematic?
yeah.
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 In every corner of the world, you will
like I have
find.
to stop myself every time because I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna say something.
I know, I feel like I'm being too critical of, like,
We're
American
nonpartisan.
presence. We are nonpartisan.
I think we can be partisan in the U.S.
Can we?
The US does want to move.
I think that's not a hot take. I don't know. Like, we can get to this later, but bro's trying to make us a state. Like,
Yeah. No, we can have
He
opinions about that, I
is-
feel like.
openly talking about deporting. Again, we can talk about this later. Like, I get to this when
Yeah,
we
in a
talk
bit.
more about what can happen on day one.
Mhm.
But the Political Science Student Association is nonpartisan in the sense where we promote and allow like views of any different association if we don't like kick one or the other. But with American politics, it is more separate.
We like our sovereignty. I like having
Me
control
too.
of my body.
I like.
Hot take.
Oh. I like not
Being
being.
factual, so like,
Americans,
that, like, America's like they're built on like very problematic. Like,
Yes. Not to say that Canada is frame, but
well, obviously,
Um,
I mean, we all know.
yeah.
But like America as well as like
yes.
the framework from like the very beginning is problematic because like why did like Americans or like why did like colonists in here in the first place?
Exactly.
Capitalism.
Great question. We'll save that for the hot takes. But with all that in mind, how about we talk about some key inaugurations in the past years?
Okay, welcome to the PSSA's Watch Mojo Top 10 breakdown of some key inaugurations. Do we want to start with the fun ones or with
How
the
we-
significant ones? I guess I'll start with the very first inauguration that we had of George Washington, our first ever president, not our first ever president, but the first ever president of the United States, with the famous "So help me God" oath, giving this religious undertone to the U.S. and their laws as they built their country onwards. The second one I kind of want to discuss is Thomas Jefferson in 1801, the third president. And this is really significant because it was confirmation of democracy, right? The peaceful transfer of power from the Federalists to the Democratic Republican Party really confirmed that, hey, we can have democratic elections and that peaceful transfer of power will occur. You know, the opinion of the masses are respected. And yeah, democracy, we have it. Do we have it today? Maybe.
Substantively or procedurally, I feel like we can tell.
There you
There's a
go.
distinction.
It's all semantics.
For sure, for sure.
And then this is gotta be my favorite. Andrew Jackson, my boy, 1829, the seventh president, in what I like to describe as the inauguration turned into a frat party, to be frank. White girl wasted? I think not. White House wasted is what occurred on this day. So Andrew Jackson, he was he can tell I thought about this.
Our podcast directors are enjoying this as well.
Yeah. But yeah, he was a very big like populist figure, and he got a lot of supporters from like the commoners. So through his inauguration, he decided to give an open invitation to these supporters of his who flooded the White House and were not really familiar with this like very posh, very calm setting of festivities. So they began trashing the place, drinking whiskey, being rowdy, and celebrating. Like it was a big moment. The common man was represented.
I would celebrate too.
I would celebrate too. Hell yeah.
I was there too. Now
They look like it.
It was definitely my demographic was there.
Those were your people.
Just not Canadian.
There you go. So yeah, it was like a celebration of reclaiming the space that didn't previously belong to them, but inevitably, Andrew Jackson had to flee through his window/side door. The details are not confirmed, but I think this is probably one of the funniest inaugurations we've had. Hard to top it. No one got hurt, I think. Yeah. So it's fine.
They probably didn't record it.
No, it probably wasn't any.
Yeah. And then that brings me to our fourth, William Henry Harrison of 1841, the ninth president. The sickly Victorian child. Okay.
You laughing at your own jokes?
Huh?
Yeah.
You wrote these jokes, right?
Because I was like severely sleep deprived when I was writing these. And I was like, yes.
Sickly Victorian child in the sense that
In the sense that. So he gave a very long inaugural speech. 2 hours.
oh,
2 hours.
how long is it
I can
usually?
yap like that.
How long is
You
it
can yap
usually?
that long, huh?
The inaugural speech? Like, just out of curiosity, how long is it usually?
That's a very good question.
I think it's
Someone
about an
look that
hour.
up.
An
I think
hour?
it's usually like it's a long speech
Yeah.
where they kind of lay out like it's similar. I think it is considered a State of the Union address sometimes, but not always. But oftentimes it is like quite long. The one from Barack Obama was actually like this video that I rated from 2015 was actually exactly an hour and 1 minute.
So 2 hours.
It's
It's
crazy.
An
Honestly,
hour more than Obama.
Yeah.
with our attention spans, it's gonna be like 10 minutes.
You
with
need
Subway
Subway
Surfers on the
Surfers
side.
line, yeah, or the Minecraft parkour.
I
Yes.
yes.
Minecraft parkour.
The
Yeah.
Am I the asshole on the side?
Wait,
But yeah.
say that.
Oh.
AITA.
AITA, if you know, you know.
AITA.
If you know, you know. But yeah, 2 hours. It was freezing. There were minimal clothes involved, so he got pneumonia and he died.
Oh, wait, no way. Wait, that's not funny. No way.
He probably was a bad guy. It's okay.
That's
He
fine,
was
yeah.
president.
I know, I'm
Probably-
like trying to be so neutral about this. But
Sounds like
wait,
something I would die to.
yeah,
See
wait,
the
right?
size tragic.
Do you guys want to hear his presidential term length? Okay, so it started on March 4th, 1841.
Yeah.
And it ended on April 4th,
Oh.
1841.
Solid
1 month.
Solid month of pneumonia. That's tragic.
Yeah, no, when you said that, I thought he died like right after the address. I was
Oh,
like,
it started on March 4th and then it
Yeah.
ended on April 4th?
April 4th.
Oh, why did I
Yeah,
hear
you-
April 4th to April 4th? I was like, he died in like,
he did the same
he
day.
was like there for like several seconds. That's what I heard. I was like, really?
No, March
There
4th.
you go.
He was rushed to the hospital after his inauguration.
And he is now has the record, inevitably, for the shortest serving president
Oh my
of
god, Guinness World
America.
Record.
We know what we might break the record in Canada for the shortest serving prime minister. Up soon, very close.
You think so?
Right, because wasn't it a couple of days with
Yeah.
I forgot her name.
Kim Campbell.
Yeah, it was Kim Campbell.
Kim Campbell,
Interesting.
former UBC student, former AMS member,
Oh, wait,
actually.
Former poly student? Question mark?
No, she was in engineering, I believe. But maybe she
Yeah.
something else after that.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's new.
Because she came in obviously after, I think it was Brad Mulroney, if I was correct with this, and then only served in office for from June 25th to November 4th of the same year. I do think whoever is the Liberal Party leader will beat that. So
Thing.
we're gonna witness history this year in Canada.
Caden's predictions. We'll
Caden's
see well.
predictions. We'll see what
Check in
happens.
next episode.
Well,
Wishes.
yeah, it's gonna take
Yeah.
a few. My wishes.
Everyone's wishes.
We're nonpartisan.
Just kidding.
I just want history to be made. I don't have any. I don't even know who the leader's going to be. That's a different conversation. This is Canadian politics. Nigar, please continue on your amazing.
Sorry?
Please continue on your amazing
I
top 10
will
list.
continue. At number 5, we have Calvin Coolidge in what I describe as the same vibes of getting married at a random chapel in Vegas at 3 a.m. with a guy you met an hour ago. Vibes.
Very Vegas, I feel like.
Very Vegas. So what happened is Press Harding died, and so there was a lot of political international turmoil, as you can tell by the dates of 1923.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what happened is that Coolidge was inaugurated at the crack of midnight with his dad in his family home.
We still have the meows
There
from
you
the test episode. We should put that up. Okay.
Wildly a lot.
He's enjoying it.
Meow, all of a sudden age is like
His the joy in his face comes back, the brightness in his eyes.
Joy. But yeah, with a notary public using the family Bible. So keeping it cash,
Yeah.
keeping it Vegas.
Very casual.
Isn't there a celebrity who's like the last name is Coolidge?
Jennifer?
Yeah, Jennifer Coolidge.
Related? Mayhaps?
I think so.
We'll
We'll just say
Can
it.
someone
Yeah.
give us a Jennifer Coolidge like?
Impression?
Yeah.
Does someone have it off the top of their head?
I don't really know. I don't even know what she looks
I've only ever heard the
Ooh, Stifler's mom.
yeah.
Oh. Do you not get that? Never. American Pie, never watched.
I've only ever seen the
Legally Blonde.
oh, she in there?
I've never
she was.
Hairdresser.
That was she's a hairdresser, right? Oh, she's so wholesome.
I always forget that's who that is.
Does someone want to drop their pen and like pick it up?
Yeah.
In true Jennifer Coolidge fashion.
In true.
I feel like.
I don't know what's going on.
I'll show you later.
I just know like all the, like the impressions that are going on TikTok.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I know her.
My most recent one was like I watched RuPaul's Drag Race. And there was a drag queen who impersonated Jennifer Coolidge for
Love it.
Let me see it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, I do know this.
You know her?
Yeah.
40 minutes of the podcast just Jennifer Miller.
In live time.
Because I've
In
always
live
known
time.
Jennifer Coolidge as a name. I
Yeah.
never have a face to her name.
There you go.
I completely agree. I know the name and I knew who it was, but I didn't
Yeah.
know they were the same person. I definitely have, but like I didn't.
I didn't know she was the
right away.
hairdresser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Legally Blonde.
The more you
Yeah,
know.
big role.
I always get confused between Jessica Alba and Jennifer Lopez. Not the faces, but the names. I don't know why.
I can't picture just with Alba's face.
She
I
can.
love Jessica Alba. We saw her on the bus.
Yeah.
together.
So
We
did
were
she
like
hop on the bus?
we were mid conversation,
But,
like car, and then she turned over
Oh.
and it's just Alba.
Well, I just think she's really pretty.
Yeah, no, she is for sure.
Okay, NPR?
Okay, yeah, sorry.
We're at number 6 now with my boy Franklin D. Roosevelt of 1939, making him the 32nd president. And he's
Another crazy year.
another crazy year, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
1939. Oh boy.
Just noticed.
And he quotes, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," which I think is just a whole load of copium during the Great Depression, trying to boost morale and bring good vibes. I don't know how much
In the New
they
Deal.
do.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Very good vibes.
Very good
Yeah.
vibes.
Does that quote bring good vibes to you personally?
You know what? We might need some
100%.
good vibes with the economic downturn that we might inevitably face very soon.
All this talk about fear gives me flashbacks to certain thinkers. Anyway, let's keep going.
We'll keep it going.
Whenever I see the word fear, I just think about.
Who do you think about?
Well, I just think about Thomas Hobbes.
Oh yeah. I was thinking Nietzsche.
So theory.
Well, Nietzsche too, but I
Yeah.
just think about Hobbes because of what some of my friends we gave him we pictured Thomas Hobbes in a specific way. Oh, she's gone.
Where's the friend? Oh, she's over there.
Oh, she pictured Thomas Hobbes in a specific way for me, and ever since then, whenever I think about fear, I think about him.
We need a Leah cam.
It's like when there's a bad group producer
Yeah.
and it's like just like right above them and you see
That's everything. Yeah.
I think we can keep that out.
Franklin D. Roosevelt. Fear itself.
Yeah.
Why'd you like that? Why'd that speak to you?
Because I have a lot of fear.
Well, I bet it's because of fear. That's like a
crazy.
little bit of a
You're
start.
kind of deep right now.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Whoa, this took a
Don't
turn.
say anything too crazy. Don't get crazy with it.
Sorry, guys. Me and FDR. Okay.
Yeah. We're bringing that to number 7.
That's not for them.
I mean,
FDR.
how could I not have Kennedy on this list?
Yeah.
Shoddy fine. I mean, what? Ask not what your country take right there can do for you. Beep, beep. Ask what you can do for your country.
You have a John F. Kennedy impression?
I feel like you do.
No. I'm
feel
not a
like it's
I'm not a
me.
Fitzgerald
Yeah.
Kennedy.
Floor is all
I'm
yours.
not a Fitzgerald Kennedy guy. There's a few that I could do. He's a little out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah. There you go. And then at number 8, we have my boy Barack Obama. As you may all know, the first ever African American president, being a symbolic confirmation of the progress that we've made in the civil rights movement. And then that brings us to number 9, the regression. I mean, what? Leave that one out.
Wait, I have something to say.
Yes.
On the 8th one, so you know how so many people would call Obama like Barack?
Yeah.
Yeah, like on social media, like they would be like, "Oh, Barack."
Yeah.
I thought Barack was his last name. When
Well,
yeah,
some people do think that,
right?
yeah.
We were like really young when he first.
What's
became,
Obama?
like-
So you actually said what's Obama's last name?
yeah, I never said that. I thought it.
Oh, yeah. There were like some people who kept my experience was the opposite growing up. It was like people kept referring to him as Obama.
Yes.
So then when I heard Barack for the very first time, I was
Yeah.
like, who is that?
Yeah,
Is that Obama's middle name?
yeah, because we were like what? Like we were like 6 when he
Yeah.
was first. Well, we
Well,
were like 6, 7 when he like.
something like that.
Oh, I guess you were like 5. You were a child, weren't you? I guess we were.
As if we weren't children.
Oh my god, you know what was happening when Obama was in office?
I was
Crazy sidetrack. So in school back in Iran, they would line us up at the assembly lines, and then they would have all like the first graders yell like that too.
No, they do. No, they do.
Huh?
I don't believe you.
Do you want me to go back? And, we had one day where they brought the
Propaganda.
American flag on the stage and they lit it on fire. And then if you didn't like put your fist up in the air and say like that to Obama, like the principal would pull you to the side and be like, "What's going on at home?"
He's gagged.
I'm 120%.
Okay.
Yeah. So, with these inaugurations, I think we want to talk. Do we want to talk about the most recent one?
Perhaps. Perhaps. Actually, there's one before that. I
Oh,
think.
The second most recent one.
Second most recent one.
And it was the one that had the largest crowd in attendance ever.
Really?
Guinness World Record. He should be like. He should put his name down.
I'm sure he quotes that in his, or has been quoting that in his
Oh,
campaign.
I don't think it was actually the largest crowd ever.
Hmm?
It wasn't actually, was it?
Was it?
I think the pictures speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Perhaps we'll have a few up in the video.
Here.
It was the
I don't know where it
famous
is.
one where he like said it was the largest crowd, and then there was like actually no one there.
Crickets. Actual crickets.
Like, it was.
But
It's
yeah.
funny because how much he loves his crowd sizes and
Absolutely.
how exaggerated they always are. I mean, it's
Huge.
It's like who cares? No one cares. You won the election, bro.
Who cares?
You did.
He's compensating for something.
What that is, we'll leave it to the viewers.
Oh, yeah. And of course, that brings us to our most recent number 10 with Joe Biden in 2020, our favorite year ever, making him the 46th.
It was in 2021.
Sorry, what?
The inauguration was.
You're kidding.
He won the election in 2020.
Okay, scrap that. And that brings us to number 10. Joe Biden
This is
in
what we have to
2021. This is exactly.
Yeah.
And does anyone want to go on a little journey of explaining what happened?
Why are you looking at me?
Well, the inauguration wasn't January 6th. The inauguration was January 20th.
Just events leading up to it.
Well,
Yes.
obviously, the January 6th Capitol attack happened at that point, and I think we're going to be talking a little bit about today in the context of the election that happened a couple months ago, and how Trump, someone who spoke to his supporters at the Capitol and at a rally in some kind at the time, was president at the time before Joe Biden was inaugurated 2 weeks later. At this moment, riled up his supporters to a point where they then went to the Capitals and attempted some sort of coup that ended up failing quite drastically. Even though they did get inside the building,
Yeah.
there was some
He did. They like broke windows.
amazing clips inside. There was that one guy with the horns, the Viking guy.
I recall that.
The
Oh, yes.
QAnon shaman, I believe he was dubbed. I could be wrong about that. He was I think he was yelling, "Where is Nancy Pelosi?" So I'm sure it was a very scary time for a lot of where some people were yelling that, and he was there in the main area, and there was a few others as well, many others actually.
I can't remember the names, but I also remember there were quite a few notable like notable members of like that party or like that crowd that were there, like Proud Boys like leaders were there.
Enrique
Proud Boys,
Tarrio,
okay.
the leader of the Proud Boys, was there, and I believe he's been arrested now. And
He is, and wasn't there a new leader that like, or was he the new leader? I can't remember.
he was I think he was newer. I'm not sure how new he was at the time. I remember there was Reporters Channel 5. I don't know if you guys know them on YouTube, like interviewed him at one point as like a Proud Boys leader around that time, like 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
So I know around that time he was the leader.
Yeah, I definitely know
least-
during this time he was. I just
Yeah.
couldn't remember if there was a new leader that came after him or if he was the new
Well, if he's in
leader.
jail, I guess they need a new one.
I mean, you never know. They might break him. Oh no, never mind.
Trump's gonna get him out anyways. Yeah, and then I mean that only lasted for a day. I remember I was in online school. I was in my like room, boarded up. Currently enrolled at SFU, doing business school, doing business courses, not even in political science yet. And learned about this, and I was like, "This is crazy." Hopped on live streams and stopped looking at my work and looked at.
I thought you were live streaming,
No.
and I was like, okay.
No,
The political interest was high.
I
but
know,
the
for
business
sure.
moment.
At a very young age.
no. And then I followed it, but it was quite a crazy day. I don't know if you guys remember similar stories, but
Would you say that January 6th sparked you to switch to becoming a political science major?
the U.S. election was definitely more engaging for me in general, the entire cycle. But not just that, obviously. Were you guys in high school?
It was the height of the pandemic. I think still the senior year.
when we were
Since senior year.
we were supposed to graduate.
Yeah.
Okay. I graduated in June.
Yeah.
That was grade 11.
Yeah, senior year, I
20.
think I was also boarded up in my room because of COVID.
Yeah, 2020 was so sad because we got like a terrible graduation.
We got we had it in person. We had masks, and then the parents it was just a live stream.
No, I remember we did walk, but it was like 10 people in the room when you walked and like
Yeah, I didn't listen.
Yeah.
But like the 2020 grads and Sen, like okay, I'm not gonna say my high school actually, but like the 2020 grads in my high school were kind of annoying because they got a grad cruise and everything.
Ours
We
too.
didn't get anything.
Yeah.
No grad cruise. The only
Yeah.
thing was that we got to walk the stage, but that was with like
We did.
10 people. Like 10, 20 people were there, which were all just other students waiting to walk the stage.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, like you didn't have it worse than us. And I was like, I don't know about other schools, but in our school, you had it better than us.
Yeah,
Like, you
well-
did everything except for walking the stage.
No,
And I
100%.
would have preferred to do everything except
Right?
for walking.
We
Except
didn't have
for
like
on
the
stage.
dance like grad thing too.
Oh.
That was the big thing that we missed out on. But
Oh,
we called it like senior sale.
You had senior sale?
Of course, I
We
graduated.
didn't get senior sale.
Why?
It was class of 2022.
Yeah, it was 2020.
22. Yeah, for 2020, it's class of 2020 for us. They got everything just up until the graduation.
Really?
And so they got
Of course,
they got
that happened in
dances. They got,
2024?
No,
no, 2020.
Oh,
2020.
yeah.
Sorry, I heard 2024. That's why I was like, my sister
No.
was 23 and she did everything.
No, yeah, they did absolutely everything. They had the dances, they had the
Yeah.
trips and things like that, just up until
Mhm.
the grad.
Well, my friend was supposed to go to Europe in March, and that was canceled because.
Oh yeah, some of
It
the
was like a
Europe
Europe
trips were
trip,
also
right?
canceled.
But I went to Costa Rica the year before for my one high school trip that I got to go, which is really fun.
I think the most notable thing from our graduation in 21 was that, our school is located, we're on a mountain. Both high schools are on a mountain. My school was higher up
Oh,
in my neighborhood, and then the other one was lower.
So you were better.
I'm the
Naturally.
king of the castle.
Enemies,
Top of the mountain.
they
shot arrows
the
from
schools
above.
below us, but they came and they vandalized our school. It was kind of funny. I don't know what they drew.
You thought that was funny? I don't think that's very respectful.
It's kind of funny.
That's
but-
government property.
yeah.
Kind of a bit of a running joke that the reason we're higher.
Well,
kind of accept that because our city is technically the number one in my city.
oh,
So we were like,
I don't know. My sister.
light work,
There's a public school though. Right?
yeah, out of public schools, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was like, you guys feel yeah. So we needed to paint, we needed new paint.
Did you fight back?
No.
Oh,
Because they're better than them. So
yeah. It's beneath them.
We're
It's beneath
too
them.
good.
Yeah.
They let them have this.
Yeah.
We're too good. Also, we needed that paint job. It was a good excuse. It was a really good excuse, actually. I think my school took that option. They were like, oh, we gotta paint you guys.
The most that my school did was my grad class did was a few people going around at night stealing ends off back cars.
That's crazy.
And then I know it's like no, that was like a good chunk of just random people from my high school would do that, and then they just put them all on the front door of the high school that was like metal, and it was like, that's your prank. Like, that's like, I mean, I didn't do anything, so I'm not gonna say like bad job, but like if you're gonna put effort into something, like make it a little better than that, you know?
Yeah.
The year before or the year after, someone had like a entire, not thing saying this is a good thing at all, had an entire thing of like some sort of bugs.
Ooh,
Like a
I wouldn't want
bottle of bugs.
Yeah.
Went to the washroom, opened it, and then walked out. So they would just leave from the wash
Oh my god.
all over the school. I think it might have been my sister's ear.
I would hate that.
Not a
I
heritage.
I don't like bugs personally. So.
You might want to
Yeah.
meow out the school. Thank
Yeah.
Not my school, but one nearby had chickens in their elevator, and then the chickens died from suffocation.
That's so sad. This is actually really
Gonna
bad.
make me go vegan.
Oh my gosh.
What'd you say?
It's gonna make me go vegan. That's so sad.
Oh, I thought you said I want KFC, and I was like, oh,
They own it. That's a weird.
KFC.
Anyways, we like to finish off the importance of Joe Biden's inauguration.
During the height of the pandemic. What else
Exactly.
happened?
We had our first ever POC, person of color, vice president, Ms. Harris.
Mm-hmm.
And what?
Progress.
And women.
And woman.
True.
Yeah.
Did I not say POC woman?
No, you just said person of color.
Okay.
Correct. Well, POC women. But yeah.
POC, person of color woman.
Okay, wait, leave that out.
WLP.
I'm so sorry. But yeah, so now that we've had some iconic inaugurations, I think this would be a really good point to just have a quick rehash of, how the U.S. electoral system works and just how their levels of government are structured. Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Well, it's a little difficult.
How the U.S. system works, Grace? I know you're an expert.
I know you're an expert and you've studied this extensively.
I watched the
so.
Fox video. Let me scratch that up. Yeah, I do know that the US, I'm not like educated enough on this. Like I didn't really take any like American politics courses, but I was a little interested because of the fact that they're like the history behind their electoral college, the way it works is very, very different, not just from like Canada, but just like in general, it's very unique.
You think the tuition's expensive to get in? I think they'll let me in. Average acceptance rate of the electoral college.
I think you'd have to be like a billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a billionaire? I think you could be billionaire.
No, I'm not going to be in attendance of Trump's inauguration, like every other one, apparently.
Someone told me the people that become billionaires are people that dream a lot.
Dream.
This just sounds like something that like Warren Buffett would have said once. And like, some business guys are like, "This is mom. I won't now, because I have great dreams at night times."
Do you dream a lot?
No.
Do you dream a lot?
Weird, not weird, wild dreams.
I mean, I do dream a lot, but I dream like superheroes.
I do not dream about politics personally.
I like go to sleep and I like wake up and in my dreams I was like a superhero. Like,
You?
would that make me a billionaire, guys?
I think if you were a superhero, you'd probably be a billionaire.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like. I feel like superhero is the cooler thing than billionaire, but like if you really want to get there, like go for it.
You
Yeah.
would just be exploited as a superhero. I feel like.
The U.S. military would love you.
No, yeah, for sure.
Recruitment instantly.
They'd love
I
you
don't
for
wanna
your
get-
superpowers and Nagar for propaganda against the.
Anyway, it took me a while to understand that the Electoral College was not a place, like not a physical place that you go to.
Oh,
I was
Hence
gonna
my
have to
joke.
cross it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, even why are they calling it a college, like Electoral College? That's why I was like,
What are they studying?
yeah, and like the first,
What's their major?
like when I heard the Electoral College, I was just like, oh, like it's probably the place where they go to vote.
Like a building, right?
Like,
Yeah.
like a video, and I like did a little bit of like research, right? Obviously, because for the podcast and also just in general, like I should probably know about this.
Yeah.
I was like, the first thing they say is that Electoral College is not a place; it's a process.
Like what?
There's no building that says electoral college.
You're kidding.
It's like, we should make it one that says electoral college.
Yeah.
There's a pun there. Someone VP marketing. So there's some puns to be had there.
There you go.
Yeah.
VP marketing looks a little confused.
Yeah.
She does not know what the Electoral College is. I'm just kidding.
Leah Cam.
But yeah, I think one thing I found very interesting about the U.S. system was that the citizens do not directly vote for their
Mm.
president. They vote for the people who are going to vote for the president. So it's like a three. I mean, like the way I kind of separated the people was that like there's the citizens who vote for their like electoral voters. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called, right?
Each state has like a representative that then gives the total state electoral college vote. In most instances, the total state's electoral college vote count,
Yeah.
which is determined via representatives, but also via like actual census data, which is then allocated to the representative count.
Yeah. So then we have like the citizens who would vote for like the representatives, and I think right, and then the representatives would then vote for through the electoral college process. They would vote.
Well, they vote for an individual, like if
Yeah.
like essentially the electoral college system is much different than a system we have in Canada, where we vote for one member in our district.
Yeah.
And then that member goes towards the total count of seats in parliament. In the US, it goes by the state for the presidential election. That's the difference between the parliamentary and the presidential system, is that the president is elected not necessarily by the seats that are in parliament. It's the Senate. So with the electoral college specifically, it happens by the total number of state or electoral college votes is determined on the state size. And the calculation of the numbers is the number of representatives in the House of Representatives, plus this is what you want to get to? You want to get to this, Grace? Would you like to say
She
that?
knows that one.
538.
There was 538.
Exactly.
And that is because there is 438 total representatives 435 total representatives inside
The
of
House.
the House of Representatives. There is 100 senators. You add the two, you get 535. You say, wait, Caden, that is 3 less. And then I will tell you that, Wolf Grace. Why is the 3 more in the actual electoral college count?
I can't remember who it was, from like Columbia or whatever, but there's like separate districts.
The District of Columbia,
I was
DC.
gonna ask you that actually.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember, but I was gonna ask you. I was gonna say that.
So
We have
the
538 electors, yeah.
the minimum amount that one state can have is 3 electoral college votes, because that means if you have one representative for the entire state, states like Wyoming with very low populations have this amount, but every single state has exactly 2 senators. So there's 50 states, 2 senators, 100 senators there, 435 representatives, 535, and then you add the 3 because Washington, D.C. does have electoral college of voting powers. Washington, D.C. does also have some power to vote for the president, which is those 3 seats, or those 3 electoral college votes that are then added to the vote total.
Yeah. So to kind of summarize it in like maybe easier way for some people to understand, because I had a lot of trouble understanding, is that we have senators and we have 2 per state. So the senators are equally like spread out throughout the country. That was not the right word. And then when it goes to the House of Representatives and then electors in general, it's not equally split up. It's like proportional to like the population of the state.
That makes it not equal, but more proportional.
So some states will have more electors and more House of Representatives. And then, yeah, that's basically it. So some states will have more, like, I think I had like an example was like Texas would have like 38 electors, whereas like Vermont only has like the minimum 3. So there's clearly like I don't want to say imbalance, but like there's very clearly
it actually,
yeah.
you can say imbalance,
Okay.
but just based on the entire kind of definition of why land is voting in a certain policy, why it matters per state, is because, yes, if you're from California and you get the Californian electoral college vote, I believe you get 54 electoral college seats if you win California. If you win Wyoming, you get 3. That is because California has many, many, many times more of the population of Wyoming. And I believe there's certain states where, on average, if you live in one of these smaller states that only has like 1 representative, your vote actually matters more than if you live in Wyoming, just proportional to the amount of votes per person. And that is an issue in a lot of people's eyes for the electoral college system in the U.S. But it was made during the Confederation of the U.S. simply because it was a compromise between the people that valued the land and the state value and the individual value. So that was kind of a compromise that there would be the House of Representatives that is proportional based on individuals that live in the state and live in the area, and the states which would be represented by land. which I think a lot of people now criticize that idea of land voting. And I think it's a very understandable criticism compared to like you're giving individuals in Wyoming, especially in the Senate. I say Wyoming because it's like, I think it's one of the smallest states, but like Rhode Island and like other smaller states are similar. Where you give these really small states the same amount of senatorial control as you give California, which has, I think California is like just slightly smaller than the entire country of Canada. Well, Wyoming population is
You don't have it off the top of your head?
500 and is literally like 584,000.
That's fine. Yeah. And then I think you also mentioned earlier that the electoral vote, most states, the majority, let me reword. Yeah. So the candidate who gets the most electoral votes in a state, so if it passes majority, it's not just like that specific majority amount that they receive like all of the electoral votes from that.
And it doesn't have to pass a majority. It just has to be the most.
Like the most.
Yeah, because sometimes there's like a third party candidate that's running, so then an individual will only get like 48%. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could get like all the votes from, so if I'm Donald Trump and I won Texas by 50% and Kamala Harris got 49%, I get Texas's all other 40 something electoral college votes to me, to the electoral college system, despite me only winning roughly half the amount of the vote total in Texas. And that's why it's so much less proportional compared to Canadian system. And that's why in Canada it does have like the popular vote doesn't necessarily always win as well. I believe in the last federal election, Aaron O'Toole actually had the popular vote, but don't quote me on that. It's usually quite close between the Conservatives and the Liberals for the popular vote. But don't like the Republicans oftentimes don't need the popular vote to win the election. While on the flip side, Democrats oftentimes do need the popular vote to win the election. In this instance, in the 2024 election, Donald Trump did win the popular vote, which wasn't expected to happen, despite him kind of being expected to win the election. Like in 2016, no popular vote was won. In 2020, when George W. Bush won, he also lost the popular vote.
Yeah, and another thing I've noticed, especially when we were like watching, this just like popped up into my head, but when we were watching when we had the watch party at the pit a couple of, how many months ago? It was like
November.
2? Yeah, it was like 2 months ago, 1.5 months ago. Hi.
No, I just knew the date.
You're laughing at me.
No, it was November 5th.
You're laughing because I did it.
Oh, no.
But one thing, as someone, this was like the first time I ever watched like the American like electoral votes come in and like the states change color. Basically, this was the first time I've ever watched it, like live streamed it, and I noticed that there was a difference between like safe states and like something called swing states. I was wondering if you could like elaborate a little bit more on that. I know like a very basic amount of it, but like I was thinking maybe you could.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you so much for asking, Grace.
You want to elaborate? Please.
So the majority of states, many states, are safe states. Safe states are generally the states that are predetermined because of their population and their historic voting patterns that they are going to go to one or the other candidate. California is never really expected to go to a Republican candidate. It was always necessarily going to go to a Democratic candidate. You can look the same in many Republican states, a lot of other states that maybe are historically safe states for Republicans. Rural states, historically, Texas for a long time has been a safe Republican state. There is a thought that it might one day go blue, considering the movement of Americans that may be more progressive to more bigger cities in Texas, such as Austin and Houston, but that hasn't happened yet. And Texas and other smaller states are still oftentimes safe states for Republicans. So there are a few swing states that were really at play and key in this election. Off the top of my head, they were Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada were the key ones that were there. So Nagar counted, is that 7?
And how many did we lose this election? Not we.
Are you
soon to be we.
As the Republican Party representative with the all red?
You never lose.
Nagar is a party that correlates with the color of her clothing. I'm kidding. It is the Republican Party won all 7 of those swing states. So the Republican Party actually ended up winning
I never lose.
Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada, opposed to the 2020 election and the 2021 Joe Biden win in that, where he won many of those states, including Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Nevada, kind of were the ones that he needed to really swing to him. I believe either Wisconsin or Michigan went to him as well. I'm not sure which two, but he won many of those swing states. That really contrasts heavily this year, where Kamala Harris underperformed Joe Biden drastically in this upcoming election. So, and because of the aspect of swing states, and because what we kind of outlined already, how many states don't, or many individuals don't have to really go to these states and they kind of know the predetermined outcome, the campaigning in these states are much less. If I know I'm going to win California, if I get 55%, but if I campaign there a lot, I would get 65% of the vote. Why would I spend more time in California when I can go to a different state and spend more time actually winning the largest aggregate of that state, and therefore winning the total electoral college vote in those states? And that's the aspect of swing states, and that's why they're so important in the federal or in the national election in the USA. And that's why a lot of people claim that the US system is quite undemocratic, because it's undeniable. If you live in Washington, just an hour south of here, your vote in presidential stage matters almost nothing. But if you're from Pennsylvania, your vote matters a lot.
Yeah. So like swing states basically like make or break it then.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's like the other states kind of do it. Another demographic, swing states is how you win or lose the election. And it's always through those states. Pennsylvania being the biggest of the swing states is usually, I think it has 19 electoral votes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was pretty intense watching it too.
Yeah, no, watching it in real time and knowing that would have a very direct effect on what's going on here is very...
Yeah. It started out like a very close call, and then it just
as the night went on, I feel like...
It the gap got bigger and bigger. The fact that because you need 270 of the electoral votes to win majority, right? And I just remember when we were watching it, some of my friends were like, "Oh, we're almost there. We still have a chance." And then the swing states all kind of they all kind of finalized, and it was what Trump ended with over 300. It was 300.
Well, there was a point where he had already hit 200 when Harris was just barely past the 100 mark.
Yeah,
and at that point,
it says Trump got 312.
Oh.
Of the electoral votes, and Harris ended with 226. So
I believe Kamala Harris only won all the Democrat seats.
Yeah.
So that's why I guess that's the amount.
I think I heard that none of the swing states, Kamala Harris didn't.
They were all red.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were all red.
Oh, all swing states. Yeah. To the Republican Party and Donald Trump. Kamala Harris won only the safe seats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not very surprised about that though. We'll get into that later. So basically, the Congress is the legislative body that is responsible for enacting the laws for all American peoples. And it's called something called a bicameral, which means it is split into two equal institutions. As mentioned earlier, that includes the Senate and the House of Representatives. And both institutions hold full legislative power in the U.S. government, essentially meaning that the Congress is... Yeah. So as mentioned earlier, the Senate...
The Senate.
Okay, wait. Pop quiz, guys. How many members or how many senators are there?
Said it earlier.
That's what I'm saying. Pop quiz.
At least 2 per state, right?
Which is...
So do the math. Come on. I know you're on the side.
I'm not the person.
So how many states are there?
So there's 50, so times 2 is 100.
Yeah, we go now.
Wow.
100 senators, 2 representatives from each state, and each senator serves a total of 6-year term. And these 6-year terms, I'm pretty sure, are staggered, so that whenever there's whenever the general election happens, only a third of the Senate is essentially filled up through this election, so that you don't have a bunch of you don't have 100 new senators that are coming in for their fresh 6-year term. It's it'll happen when some senators are a couple of years into their term already, so it's staggered like that. And there's overlap. Okay, one thing I found really interesting about I was doing some research about senators, and there's obviously there's requirements in order to become and be eligible to become a senator, right? Apparently you need to only be at least 30 years of age, which I was really surprised about because I thought senators were like,
Well, on
you
the
can be a
older side.
senator. Like in their 50s.
I could be a senator.
Yeah.
Soon
I'm
enough.
30. I'm
One
20. I am 22 years old.
Counting.
Give it 8 more years.
Grace, yeah, you need to be 30. You know, it looks at me. You could be a senator. What?
Yes, there's worry.
A few of you guys have called me a super senior while in my 5th year of university. I am 22 years old
Wait, but you're turning 23 this year, aren't you?
in November.
Hey, TikTok, 7 years.
Oh, he's like a fresh 22.
I'm a fresh 22 year old.
Oh, I see.
I expect I'm a
You can't do that to me.
I'm a Sagittarius, not a Scorpio. For all who's wondering. I know
You
Leo.
wanna announce your
I know-
birthday party?
I know why.
You go to your birthday.
We can put the Canva invite up.
The camera invite up.
But yeah, no. Aside from the fact that we just talked about Caden's Asian. I'm not closing person. He's close to
PSSA, we are not ageist, I promise.
It sounds like you guys are quiet.
Because the PSSA and the Mental Breakdown Podcast is not an ageist.
We love all ages.
We love all ages.
We support all ages.
Real.
But yeah, it was minimum like 30 years of age, which I thought was really interesting. And then obviously the rest of it kind of makes sense. It's like you need to be a US citizen for like 9 years. Kind of obvious that you need to be a US
Yeah.
citizen. And then
But for a timeline, it's pretty interesting. It's kind
It
of
is
quite
actually-
arbitrary.
I was expecting
You
like
can only be a senator after 1 year.
I'm thinking of my citizenship right now.
he's the youngest senator ever.
Yeah.
I don't know who the youngest senator was. But
John F. Kennedy.
how
Oh.
old was he?
I know, but he was quite young.
Oh.
He was at the time, I
Maybe
think.
he was like in his 20 something. And they were
Right?
like, wait, we can't have this, so they made that 30-year limit.
Like I said, Shawty fine. Like,
Yeah, and
Okay.
Yeah.
anyway, that's just what the senator or like that's the requirements to become a senator. So if anyone's interested, there you go.
Speaking
Drop
of
application. Link it.
Also, you have
Link in bio.
signing a state that you want to use it, which is kind of obvious.
Oh, sorry. Kennedy was the youngest person elected president. But he was a very young senator, too. No, but yeah, could awful.
All right. So now that we have a bit of background on the Senate, how about the House of Representatives?
And so the House of Representatives has 435 elected representatives, and as mentioned earlier, these are proportional to the population, not necessarily the same as the Senate, where they have two members per state. These House of Representative members are elected every 2 years, and some of their responsibilities include the power to initiate revenue bills, et cetera, et cetera. So they're very important people. I'm not going to go into detail about them. So obviously, you can win majority of the Senate and the House. And in order to win majority for the Senate, it's 50 seats, obviously. And for the House, it's 218 seats for the majority. And this was a very close call between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. The Republican Party was just able to win majority for both the Senate and the House. I believe the Republican Party had 53 seats in the Senate and 220 seats in the House, whereas the Democratic Party had 47 seats in the Senate and 215 seats in the House, a very close margin. So, yeah, that's just a rundown of the Congress and Senate and House of Representatives and what the current numbers are looking following the general election that happened.
Yeah, all of which are very important points. I feel like for what makes this inauguration in particular very special, speaking of the numbers. Well, speaking of why this inauguration is special, does anyone want to kind of touch on that a little bit?
Oriana, thank you so much. So we kind of talked a little bit about the State of the Union addresses that come during the inauguration and the more unsymbolic side, the actual substantive side of the inauguration, and the following addresses to the United States from the president. The highlight and the reason why day one is very, very crucial is specifically because of the executive orders, which is an order that is only done by the discretion of the president and not needed the Congress, Senate, or the judicial branch to enact them. And it is important to note that if there are laws or judicial rulings that kind of contradict executive orders, that they cannot actually be in place. So they're still at the behest of certain legislation, but it is nonetheless something that the president uses to control a lot of where their power goes and like their agenda on day one. A lot of people were saying that Biden's in 2021, that his initial day one was very, very consequential for a few reasons specifically. The two that we are going to look at before, I gotta check my throat right now actually.
It's going to be environmental and immigration, right? Yeah. Is that what you...
Precisely, because we've seen that contrast quite greatly with Donald Trump's Day One initiative as well. So some highlights from Biden environmentally. He recommitted to the Paris Paris Agreement on climate change, a major step in the international order on environmental action, sustainability, and climate change, fighting climate change as a whole. Another big one that Joe Biden did to contrast Donald Trump's previous 4 years is the rollback of President Trump's environmental actions in order to protect the public health and environmental and the environment and restore science. This was just a overarching kind of executive order that made strides to kind of reduce the environmental reduction in importance in Donald Trump's 4 years and kind of put that back to the forefront. And from these last 4 years of Joe Biden, he has been praised domestically for his support of the environment and his international support in the Paris Agreement on climate change, as it is kind of not critiqued, but boasted and praised as a good agreement as the starting step to fighting climate change on the global scale. So, to contrast that, immigration was very heavily different as well, considering we had 4 years of Donald Trump before Joe Biden, but Joe Biden then terminated the immediate and emergency funding that was then split to the southern border. So he took that funding, then there was not be another brick that would be built on the southern border. He decided it wasn't an essential part and kind of was a pointless endeavor by Donald Trump. It's kind of a little bit of the Joe Biden Democratic Party rhetoric. And then he also revoked the Trump removal of eliminating undocumented immigrants from the census and governmental data. This was to simply count all Americans that are inside America and not just necessarily those that are documented immigrants. But if there's an undocumented immigrant living in America, they should still be counted and represented in the kind of total population data to have a better and accurate understanding. And even just these two issues he contrasts very differently on than Donald Trump has claimed to on day one. Again, this is being filmed 3 days before the inauguration, so things can change. But from what Donald Trump has said going forward, he has declared to begin a mass deportation program of undocumented immigrants. He said, quote, on day one, he will launch the largest deportation program in American history to get the criminals out, quotes, and potentially declaring a national emergency and using military assets if he needs to do so. While that kind of also goes in hand in hand with his other ending of birthright citizenship in the U.S., essentially that if you're in the U.S., even if your parents are there or you are brought by your parents, or your parents come to the U.S., they have a baby, which is you, and you're in the U.S., you're born on U.S. soil, you are declared an American citizen. He has promised to end that form of birthright citizenship during his NBC interview. And finally, he vowed to, quote, terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration, end quote, whatever that means. I don't think it's the fact that the U.S. has any kind of open borders is heavily disputed in any regard, but it is nonetheless what Trump has been saying pre-inauguration. Any thoughts on that?
I'm sad.
I just think that all of these things, in comparison to his 2016 administration, do we think that this, going back to numbers, do we think that Senate numbers will have a role in the extent to which all of these things that he's promising is going to actually go out?
So the things that I kind of highlighted right here can be done to an extent by executive orders. Mm-hmm. So the Senate and Congress and the House of Commons or House of Representatives in the U.S. don't have as big of a role in this, but it does seem like largely the Republican Party is behind Trump on a lot of these endeavors. Even the more extreme ones, such as mass deportations and the use of military assets to do this. And I think birthright citizenship is something that has been, as long as I can know and remember and kind of have a history of American politics, that's been forever. So creating that would also be quite drastic. But nonetheless, he's vowed to do it. And whatever is necessary, he would absolutely do it. On environmentally, he has promised that he would drill. It actually was hilariously his one solution when he was asked about how he would fix the economy and affordability in the U.S. He promised that he would drill and frack more, which I thought was a hilarious answer, especially comparing Canadian politics to U.S. I think if a Canadian heard that answer in the provincial or federal scene for the solution to affordability, they would be like, what are you talking about? But nonetheless, in the U.S., with the number one issue being affordability, inflation, kind of the current economic state of U.S. That was the number one issue for a lot of Americans, and yet Trump's only solution to that is frack more, which he says will make energy cheaper and therefore make everything else cheaper. I don't believe that that is going to be the same cause and effect, especially with other economic issues that he is potentially imposing, which we'll talk very shortly. And he also promised to, quote, cancel Crooked Joe's electronic vehicle mandate, which is very interesting because I'm not sure what an electronic vehicle mandate is, considering there are many non-electronic vehicles in the U.S., which is such a shock. I know Ford F-150s, I believe, are still the most popular model of vehicle sold, so I don't think there's an electric vehicle mandate, but nonetheless, Trump has promised to cancel that, potentially cancel culture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, he's going to cancel that. Other notable remarks that he's made for the inauguration and why Monday can be such a consequential day, he has promised to pardon many of those in prison from the January 6th insurrection. It is unclear if that is going to be individuals that were involved at a lesser extent, or if that is going to be even the people who broke into the Capitol threatening to kill Congress members, and also those that actually assaulted police officers and other U.S. citizens. Beyond, I think it is unclear. He hasn't made the decision yet, because I think it's very interesting that if he decides to pardon all of them, I think that even a lot of his supporters, some of the median supporters, are going to have an issue with that, because there are people who have assaulted police officers who are in jail, for example. Enrique Tarrio, the founder of the Proud Boys, was heavily involved in that. Is he going to pardon someone like him? We don't know. And if he doesn't, then I think a lot of his supporters are even going to be, his hardcore supporters are even going to be more mad at him as well. So there is an issue that's going to come up with the Trump administration, that he's going to have to make that decision. He promised the war in Ukraine will be done within 24 hours of him becoming president.
We'll see.
So on January 21st, I guess the war will be over, and I'm sure he'll follow by this. It's very interesting to see what his solution is on that. I think his proposed solution is not a nuke, Nagar. I know that's a solution that you wouldn't put too far past him, but a solution that I think he's come is that he would give them a phone call, and he would say, "Don't do that."
Gonna pick up. It won't happen in 24 hours. Yeah. When you get an hour, it'll be like,
We heard that
call.
Yeah.
The last topic, well, like, if you know that sign, then just call Taylor up.
Just call Taylor up. Just call up like Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Or that meme there's like, we should just call Taylor up. Just call her.
I think honestly, he might resort to that.
He might resort.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
That's
heard.
the thing I was like really curious about. I've seen this so much on like social media and like news and everything. I was like really curious. Why do you think Kamala lost? Like, why was she unable to secure enough votes to, like, I'm curious.
It's a great question.
Yeah, like,
Oriana, do you have an issue?
politics so well, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
You thought Kamala Harris was going to win? You were like really pumped.
I just sat there and I was like, it'd be nice, but
I think with how, like, I don't know, social media, I don't know if this is hot take out. Like, social media has generally become echo chambers to the extent that, like, you only really follow what your algorithm shows you. So I think that, like, on one hand, it explains why people were so shocked. But I guess just some general thoughts. I think the biggest thing was just the intersectionality for her being a POC and a woman really played a big role. Amongst other things, of course. I'm sure you have more things to touch on.
Yeah, I think it's just looking back and setting the stage that there was a presidential election when the House of Representatives won this other house to the Senate, and also had the current court staff. Like, this is a Republican supermajority of supermajorities, where the Republicans have everything, and this came just over less than 4 years after there was an attempted coup on the U.S. government. Donald Trump did call the Republican governor trying to overturn the election. He, obviously, January 6th, we talked about a little bit. That was no doubt part of it, but that wasn't at all. There was court cases that were based with very little evidence, attempting to get people to overturn some electoral college votes and therefore vote for them for Donald Trump. And at the end of the day, the citizens of the United States were able to overlook the causes of January 6th and potential election denial, or the election denial that followed from Donald Trump and his supporters and his closest allies, to elect the individual who called it just less than 4 years later. And just to set the stage, it's important to also know that it's not like January 6th isn't important to the American population. You can't just say like people don't care about it at all. It was 55% of the American people that believe that January 6th should not be forgotten in a capacity, that believe it's still important in some way. So that was a Washington Post polling that was done. I believe it was about a year ago, but within like it's somewhat current, 55% of Americans. That's all Americans. It's not Democrats, not Republicans. But nonetheless, Kamala Harris, who was the Democratic candidate, lost. And I think there's parts of it that like didn't help her out. The aspect of the fact that she only had a shortened campaign, where there wasn't a Democratic nomination process, where she didn't actually win from the Democratic voters, the Democratic Party voters, hurt her. The intersectionality definitely hurt her as well. You saw explicitly racist remarks done by Trump and his supporters throughout the election process. But I think the primary reason and the number one reason why Kamala Harris lost is she failed to actually put something forward that the American people cared about. No one really knew. There was parts where people knew what she was running on, but I don't think people cared about that. People didn't feel like that was going to actually help their lives. There was tax rebates for small business and new businesses. There was a little bit of money set aside for tax rebates on new homes, I believe was one of the two. And those were kind of like the two main economic policy points. While people were worried about groceries, they were being told that inflation is not going up and is instead going down. But at the end of the day, people didn't believe that. People didn't see that. And whether you can get economists to tell people that or not, it didn't matter because people didn't know what she was running on. She had policy. But and Donald Trump, I think, even had less policy than Kamala Harris. But I think that he was at least not in charge of the last 4 years, and people blame their lives and their well-being to the president that's in charge. There are instances and like certain individuals in the Democratic Party that I believe portray this level of what could come to some economic essentialism in the Democratic Party. But nonetheless, it didn't come through in this election. And the two more points, I think that there was minimal left-wing economic populism in a sense, where we had right-wing populism. There was the blaming of the current in power, Joe Biden in power. There was the blame of undocumented immigrants in the United States. There was for crime, for affordability. It was rampant in everything. There was no doubt that was scapegoated to a large capacity. And this denial to actually fight back on the policy, but instead of try to meet them in the middle, I think is what hurts the Democratic Party time and time again. This is what hurt Hillary Clinton in 2016. I think would have hurt Joe Biden drastically more in 2020 if COVID wasn't at front of mind and Donald Trump's handling of COVID wasn't there as well. And I think it nonetheless 100% hurt Harris in this last election. And you contrast that with a different Democratic candidate, such as Bernie Sanders, who I dressed up for Halloween.
Flashback picture here.
Flashbacks to the PSSA posts.
Yeah.
It's almost like proven now through a lot of polling data that Bernie Sanders would have beat Donald Trump in 2016 strictly because against one another, Hillary Clinton, I believe, had a 3-point advantage to Donald Trump in 2016 general election, while Bernie Sanders had a polling percentage increase that was in the high teens, drastically higher than Hillary Clinton's approval rating over Donald Trump. People were upset with the current order. People were upset with their lives. Obama promised change over 8 years, and I don't think people felt like there was enough change over those 8 years. You get someone like Hillary Clinton coming in 2016, who's failing to actually meet the people where they want change and promising them change and promising them the status quo, and they voted against that. And I think that's exactly what happened again in 2024. The third way, left-wing economic policy. Do you know what the third way left-wing economic kind of idea is?
Not necessarily, but I think like you touched on this a little bit. So would you say that her policies kind of being a little more vague and kind of not really distinguishing themselves enough from Biden's campaign hurt her in that way? Is that kind
Yes.
of what that is? Okay.
Like third way is where you don't have that strong set progressive opinion, whether it be socially or economically. You instead go to the center. Bill Clinton did this famously as president. He did not look to the left and the far members of his caucus and the Democratic caucuses for support in Congress. He looked to moderate Republicans. And I think if you look to moderate Republicans that support things like mass deportations, support things like axing environmental regulations. If I am a American voter and I'm told by both parties that the border is an issue, like I was if I was an American voter, like I would have been in November of 2024, why would I vote for the person that's going to do slightly less mass deportation, slightly less border restriction, if I believe if both of them are telling me this is an issue, right? If I want a Coca-Cola, I'm going to get a Coca-Cola. Why would I get a Diet Coke if I want Coke? And both of them are telling me Coke is great. Oh, but why? But you're selling me Diet Coke, but one guy is selling me Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like, I just like, it doesn't make sense. And I think you have to meet people not where you perceive them to be at, but like where they're actually at. Because when the American people vote on policy specifically, policies like across the board and referendums based, not attached to a Democratic or Republican figure, they support progressive economic policy.
I guess we're gonna have to see what happens with the inauguration.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna change. We'll see
Days from now.
what happens in a couple days.
We'll see the backlash of it. And
For sure.
again, it all happened from 2016. But anyways, here we are.
Yeah, so I guess we'll all be sitting here waiting patiently for January 20.
I can wait longer.
And yeah, I feel like as, their top neighbors, you could wait a little bit longer.
We all took the time to not watch the inauguration. Bake a cake.
It's like a car
Take
crash.
a walk.
You just have to.
Yeah, you have to look. But yeah, because you can't take your eyes away
Take a
from
walk.
it.
Take a walk.
Do you know what's gonna
touch
happen?
grass.
Yeah, on Monday, right?
Yes.
It's on Monday.
I have class.
You can no longer say Happy Monday.
I will not be saying happy.
Sad Monday.
Me sad
Monday.
Guys,
Elimination.
Very morose Monday. Oh, didn't even know. Okay, well, I think that wraps it up for this episode. First ever PSSA MenTV.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for
my
being with
lovely
us.
Mental Breakdown podcast hosts. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for
Okay,
coming.
no,
Good information. It was
Yeah.
good learning
Yeah.
a lot of stuff from you too.
Yeah.
Well, I tried my best.
Oh.
Again, not a PhD yet.
Yeah, it's a debate.
Yeah. You guys see.
All right,
So
ready?
there.
3, 2, 1.